Play.
What up, it's the Lyve Gaming Network, back with another episode of Live Play. If you guys have paid any attention to my channel, you may have seen the video I uploaded a while back about Tera's character creation and how in-depth that is. In that video I make mention of the combat system and how that's what really sets this game apart from other MMOs. So I wanted to kind of show you guys how I play using the gamepad. The integration of the gamepad with the game isn't a tacked on feature in Tera. It's actually something you can tell the developers gave some thought to. And what they came up with is actually, it works very well, and I really like how it works, and I enjoy playing the game this way. Now, when you, the difference that set, things that set the Tera apart as far as this combat from other MMOs is that Tera is a reticule based combat system where you're actually aiming and you have to aim in the direction of your targets. It's not determining whether you miss or not based off of your stats and your gear stats alone. It's actually determining whether you hit or miss by the fact of whether you're swinging at the enemy or not. Are you within range when you swing? It's very much like a hack and slash, and it's got a hack and slash feel to it when you're using the gamepad. But at the same time, it is an MMO, so there is a lot more depth to the combat than just your typical hack and slash game. There's a lot of skills, and just like any other MMO, and so the way they've integrated that and with the use of the gamepad is actually works very well. And so I just kind of wanted to show you guys how I play with the gamepad. First thing I want to show you is the fact that Tera does have your typical slots here, your skill slots, and so you can map your skills and move them into the 1 through plus keys on your keyboard, as well as your F1 through F12. And then you have some additional slots here that you can actually get rid of if you like. You can hide those or bring those back up and use these for skills or buffs or different things, and you can actually map these to the keyboard as well. How I usually do it is I'll map my skills to the controller, and then any extra stuff as far as like kills and stuff I'll also have mapped to a keyboard because I do play at a desk, and so I can still reach the keyboard. But if you wanted to play from your couch with a wireless controller, you could exclusively use the controller and it'll work well for you, and it's really fun. So I use a normal Xbox 360 controller. It's the wired controller. It has a USB connection. You can also use the wireless Microsoft 360 controller if you have the dongle for the PC, or you can use a PS3 controller if you have a Bluetooth wireless adapter, as well as third-party software. You can look that up online if you like to try and use that as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is plug in my Xbox controller. As you can see, the game detects that instantly, and it pops up a controller on your UI here. And this is important because this is how you're going to begin to memorize and understand how you want to map your skills. Now, as you can see, the left click, right click, and your tab are your main 3 buttons here when using the mouse. And so they have, by default, they have the left click as your main attack, your combo attack. This doesn't use any magic points. This is just a normal attack, and you're able to use it as often as you want. It actually builds your magic points up. So after you've used a skill that drains some of your MP up here, you can build that back up by using your combo attack, and that's your main attack. And actually you can move that if you like. So you can move that to 1, which 1 is the Y button. You can move your dodge to a different button if you like, and see, as you can see, there's your main 1 and main 2. So you can actually map that differently and have those as attacks. The jump is set to X by default, and the interact, which is how you interact with items, pick up drops, speak with NPCs, and interact with NPCs throughout the world, is set to your left trigger. And you can switch these around. Everything is fully customizable. All you need to do is press your back button on your Xbox controller, and as you see, your controller configuration pops up, and you're able to then map anything you like to any setting, any way you want it. So I've learned to use it by default, and I like how it's set up default, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and set the dodge and the attack back to the main 1 and 2 buttons. And so in Tera, as I was saying, you use a reticule to aim your attacks. Now, the neat thing about the melee class when it comes to using the controller is that, as you see, I aim my attack and swing, and I'm able to hit and then dodge in the direction that the reticule is aiming. But at the same time, if I were to move to the left or right, as you can see, I'm aiming in the wrong direction. I'm not going to hit him. And so you have to at least be within a certain range as far as the character's animation, and the width of her swing, determines whether or not you're going to hit. Now, one of the things I really like about the combat is, even though I may be facing off this way, and say I'm fighting multiple enemies, I can aim the character in any direction and swing by using the left analog stick. And that's, a la any console fighter, any hack and slash game, that's pretty much how you're going to control it. And so I can actually use that to aim without even having to move the camera. I can move behind him and come and swing backwards in the direction facing the camera this way. Alright, so let's go ahead and learn our first skill here and show you how we map the skills to the controller. You're going to talk to your instructor and train your skills in order to receive new skills. Now once I've received my skill, I'm just going to use the K on the keyboard in order to bring up my learned skills. You can also do it by hitting start, and then you can use your analog to go up to the skills. As you can see right there, there's your skills, and hit the A button and that also brings it up. So you can completely use just the controller. I use a combination a little bit of the controller with the keyboard and the mouse. It just makes things a little bit quicker as far as being able to respond to things and get to my menu quicker and grab stuff. So I'll go ahead and grab my Rain of Blows, which is the skill I just learned, and I'm going to drag it down to my 1 skill slot. And as you can see, by hitting number 1 on the keyboard, which I'm doing now, she will do her attack, that Rain of Blows. So that's how you would use it traditionally, but it's also mapped to my Y button on my controller, so now I'm able to use my Y and do that attack. Now, as I was saying, the buttons you only have 4 face buttons. You have your 2 shoulder buttons and your 2 triggers. So you have a total of 8 possible buttons you can use, but yet you have 24 possible slots there that you can map to your controller. So what they've done is they've allowed you to use your R and your L button, your shoulder buttons there, to modify what the controller is doing. So you have a whole smooth set of skills. So you can see as I hold down the right shoulder button, I now have access to the upper 1, upper 2, upper 3, upper 4, upper 5, and upper 6 skills. And that would be the F1 through F6 skills. So as I map the F1 through F6 skills, I'm able to access those by holding down the right shoulder button and hitting the corresponding button. Now that may seem, like a little bit much. It might seem hard to get a grasp of at first, but I can guarantee you the longer you play with it this way, it becomes very intuitive, and you're able to quickly get to your skills and access those skills and use them very fluidly. So for instance, if I was to drag my Rain of Blows, which I had in my 1 skill, which is mapped to my Y, up to F1, now if I hold down my R button, you can see that the F1 is mapped to the A button. So I'm able to now use it by holding down the button. And as you build your skills, that's how you'll continue to map them and be able to gain access to skills. Pots, if you wanted to have a health or MP pot that you wanted to drop during battle to be able to get health back, or some of your magic points, you can map those as well. And so you have the L button, which brings up a set of 6 new skills. Your left button brings up a set of 6 new skills, although 1 is by default mapped to your world map, which is a left trigger, and so you can change that as well. And then if you hold both of them down, you have your lower 7 through lower 12, which is going to be your number 7 through your 12th button, which is your plus on your keyboard. So let's go ahead and show you a little bit of how the system works with the controller. As you can see, attack the character. And there's my skill. See, as you noticed, even though the reticule was aimed off towards that direction, I have her, the character, using the left analog stick aimed facing left, and so she was able to attack to the left. And it works really well. Now, one of the complaints that I've heard a lot of as far as Tera's combat is the fact that when you use a skill, you are locked in the animation. So for instance, if I hit my Y button, which is my skill, Rain of Blows, you can see that she does an animation. It looks like 3 swings that she does. Okay, now I'm not able to break that animation with another skill, including my normal combo attack. So as you can see, I'll go ahead and press the Y, which will start the skill, and as I'm hitting the A button, it does not stop her from finishing the animation. People complain about that, you know. One of the things I've noticed that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that you can break skill animations, but you can only break it with the dodge, which is your B on the controller, or it would be your right click on your mouse. So if I start my skill animation there, as you can see, I can break it early with the dodge. So you're not stuck constantly attacking once you hit that button. You're able to dodge. I think the developers did that to create a sense of strategy when it comes to the PvP in the game, and also just the combat in general, so that it's not really a hack and slash. It's got that feel, and it's definitely different from other MMOs, and it's really fun, but at the same time it's still an MMO, so there's still a lot of strategy involved. And so they don't want you to be able to just mash your buttons and pull one attack after another. It would probably just make it too arcadey. They want to still obviously keep that feel of an MMO. So I believe that's why they have the animation lock, but they allow you to break it with your dodge. So if used and planned right, you can break that animation. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. I'll attack this character here with my... See, as he powers up, see, I dodged in the middle of the animation. See, and another thing I like is that in a tap target MMO, you're just going to sit there and deal damage and take damage, and based off of your gear and based off of your stats of your character, the computer determines whether or not you're getting hit or you're hitting. Whereas in Tera, you are determining that by the fact that how you play the game and if you're aiming correctly. So anyway, just wanted to show you that. Another thing quickly is, by default, the set skill direction in your controller configuration is set to camera direction, and let me show you what that does. Okay, so your skill, if you're attacking, say, a character that's to the left of you, like this, and then you go to pull off the skill, because I have it set to the skill direction to camera direction, which is the default, the attack animation and the attack is going to go in the direction that the camera is facing, or the reticule. So you see, she'll turn and attack that way. See, the same thing if I'm attacking against the camera and I'm actually attacking this way, but then I hit my skill, she's going to turn and attack the direction that the camera is facing. So what I've found is if you're using the controller, set this to character direction. And now, the direction I'm attacking is the direction she's going to do the skill. And so that makes the combat more fluid. You're not getting the herky-jerky movements if you're attacking one direction and start attacking the other. And so I feel like that's kind of necessary if you're going to play the game with the controller. Alright guys, so when I come back, I'm gonna have this character around level 20, 22 with some more skills. We'll go ahead and fight a BAM, which is a big ass monster, which is one of the world bosses that roam the worlds of Tera. One of the reasons I really enjoy the game as well is the combat, along with the fact you get to fight these bosses out in the open world. And so when I come back, we'll be at level 20 or 22 with this character, and I'll go ahead and show you a little bit more in regards to the combat. Alright guys, I'm back. I've reached level 22 with the character. So I wanted to show you a little bit more of the combat and how it works now that we have some more skills. As you can see, we've filled up the skill bar. We've got a few things added here. So just a couple of tips. One of the things that I came up with is I decided to map my buffs to the buttons that correspond when I press both my LB and RB buttons down. When I press both shoulder buttons, you can can see, it brings up, I have a map to where those are my buffs. So I have my buffs there, so I can quickly access my buff. And you know, sometimes I'll map the pots, you know, for health, different potions to those buttons. And I'll leave the face buttons as, you know, my attacks, as well as my RB and left B buttons to attack. So as you can see, I have now some more skills there. One of them is this new pounce skill. So if I hold my RB button and hit A, it'll do that. I have another skill here which does like a swinging attack. Another thing I do is, like, on my left button here, I have similar attacks. I try to keep them, so, you know, it's easier to remember this way. So if I hold my left button, I have, it's kind of like a thrusting poisonous attack she does, and then also another thrusting defense damage attack. And since they're similar, I've got them mapped to that button, and that, you know, that modifier, my left button, and that way, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to remember. So let's go ahead and show you this combat in action. In Tera, there are these boss monsters in the world. They call them BAMs, big ass monsters is what that stands for. And they're these large monsters. You know, this one I'm gonna fight, the first one you get to fight in the game. There's actually a lot bigger ones. They usually suggest you do this in a party, you know, 3 to 5 players. I'm gonna go ahead and fight this by myself. The first ones aren't too difficult. You know, they'll still level you if you're not careful. As you see, the red flash kind of is a tell. Each character has a tell to, you know, let you know when they're going to attack. Part of the strategy in the game is to read the tells and be able to move in time to avoid the damage. Okay, I'll go over there. Another part of the strategy with the warriors is, you can see I have that dodge, but that dodge uses a third resource. It's called your resolve resource, and it's that third little bar underneath your magic points. And that runs down, so if you're not careful, you can find yourself in a situation where you don't have any resolve and you can't dodge out of an attack, out of the way of an attack. You know, so you can kind of strafe and move around the enemy. And that's the rage. Each monster will go into what's a rage mode, and then their attacks will actually move faster and they'll do more damage. As you can see, I've gotten him, done enough damage to him where he's pretty upset, and he went into rage mode on me. Another thing, if you notice, after I do a move, how another move pops up on screen there, and it has the X or space bar button icon next to it. That is a chain skill. You can chain each skill so that after you do one, you can do another one just by pressing the X button. Now that helps a lot, because then you don't have to constantly be worrying about what you're gonna do next. You know, you can kind of play with those and see which combo is going to work best with which skill, and so you're able to chain the attacks that way. So as you can see, if I do this one, I actually don't have that one chained. Let's see, I believe the dodge is chained. See, and the X does that slash, whereas that slash actually you wouldn't be able to do without doing that dodge first. Let's see. See, as you can see, he didn't hit me. I mean, he's swinging, he's not hitting me because I'm moving out of the way. And, you know, that's, as I said, that's what really sets this game apart from other MMOs where the computer determines whether or not you get hit. Well, my skills and ability with the gamepad is what's determining whether or not I get hit. Okay, see, as I got hit there. And I think he's about had it. Go. See, and as I said, my L trigger is my interact, and that's how I pick up the drops as well as interact with NPCs. So guys, that is how that works. I'll go ahead and show you more on the chaining system when I get back. We're gonna log into my main character, and you know, he's a max level 60 character. He has a ton of skills. And so I'll be able to better show you how I have that mapped with the modifier buttons, and we'll go ahead and pick it up from there. So when I come back, I'll be logged in there. I'll show you some more on the chaining as well. Alright guys, so this is my main character. He's a level 60 warrior. As you can see, I have a lot more skills with this character. I'm filling up quite a few of the slots. And so I have skills in all of the modified buttons. So I hold both my shoulder buttons, and that'll bring up the buttons that I have set for my buffs, so go ahead and use those. And then as you can see, I have all the other attacks mapped. There's a few that you only use in certain situations, and they actually prompt you when you can use them, so you don't really need to map them. So those I don't worry about. But now I wanted to show you some of the chain skills. As you see, you bring up your learn skills, and then you have the chain skills button down here at the bottom. And as you can see, you have your trigger skill, which is the skill that you're using, and the chain skill, which is the skill that is going to pop up next. Now for instance, if I use the pounce skill, actually I have to be attacking something. So let's go ahead and go show you real quickly. So if I use my pounce skill on this character here, okay. Alright, actually let's use this one. So as you can see, it's all changed. So I'm just hitting the X button from that point, and it changed one skill to the next, and you can kind of play with that to see what chain was most effective and which one works best for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and come down here. This is a good area to farm once you get to max level. A lot of times there's guys down here already farming. It is open world PvP, so you can end up with a battle on your hands. Run into a few PKers. You know, sometimes they're in a group, so you end up running into more than one, and you can get beaten pretty badly sometimes. But let's go ahead and aggro a few mobs here. Okay, so let me show you how this is gonna work here. So as you can see, I literally did all that besides the first move, which actually was the R button or the L button and A. Or I'm sorry, it was the R button and Y actually. Besides that first skill, all the other skills were chained, and so I was able just to hit X after that to do the next skill. And I've kind of, you know, come up with my own little formula there of how I feel is the most effective chain. And you play with that and change that around. But let's go ahead and let's pull a little bit bigger one this time. A little bigger group here. Okay, so let's go ahead and so as you can see, that is your chain. It disappeared in the mob there. Now, for this, you know, this demonstration, I've had my controller there. As you can see, it's pretty big, but you can actually go into your settings in your UI settings here under options and change the size of that controller. Makes it a little bit smaller and just kind of gets it out of your way a little bit, gives you a little bit more room on your screen. You know, and that way I can still see what's mapped where, and if I need to change anything I can, but it's not taking up my whole screen. You know, I had it big like that just to, you know, for the purpose of this demonstration, so that you guys could see, you know, how it's mapped and whatnot. And if you want, and you get advanced enough, you could actually even just get rid of the UI completely. You know, and that's kind of a challenge. Then you got to remember what you got mapped to what. But as you can see, I'm still just doing my chain skills. Just hitting the X button. So anyway, guys, that's the combat system in Tera. If you guys want to see more on this game, just let me know. I just really wanted to show you how I use the Xbox controller and how, you know, it has really made this game enjoyable. I really wish this exact system was implemented into, you know, more games. I really like Guild Wars 2. I could only imagine if it controlled this way. For me personally, it'd be a lot funner. Now, obviously, using the right analog, I don't know if you've played a lot of first-person shooters, you know, on PC as well as console, then you know that the mouse is a lot more accurate when it comes to aiming. So, being that it is, you know, somewhat like a first-person shooter, I would definitely suggest you use the mouse when it comes to the range classes in the game. But for melee classes, I really like the controller. Now, it's not to say it's the best way to play the game. It's just fun. I really enjoy playing it that way. And you know, maybe it's better for PvP and competitive PvP to use the mouse and the keyboard. And if you've got, you know, a specialized MMO mouse, Razer Naga or something like that, maybe you want to use that mouse instead. Personally, I've gotten competitive with the PvP using this. And you know, it takes a lot of focus, and you know, eventually though, a lot of practice, and you get pretty good at it. And so, you know, to each their own. But if you guys want to see any more, hit me up. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Peace.